Good morning, and my thanks to the organizers for inviting me to speak to you today. First, because artificial intelligence is among those issues that must be addressed if Europe is to make the most of its digital recovery. Second, with today being the final day of the Croatian presidency of the Council, it is the perfect moment to take stock of what has happened over the past 6 months and reflect on our future direction. Certainly, at the start of this year, nobody could have predicted the havoc which would be caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. These have been difficult times, but the determined efforts of the Croatian presidency under Prime Minister Andrej Plenković are to be lauded, especially given that they also had to contend with the destructive earthquake which hit Zagreb in March. Across the European Union, we work together closely to tackle the immediate health challenges posed by the pandemic, ensuring that help reached the businesses and people who needed it most as Europe went into lockdown. This need for cooperation must be reinforced now that we have shifted focus to the long term. Our joint efforts now should focus on the far-reaching European recovery plan set out by the Commission last month, one based on solidarity, cohesion and convergence. It aims to kickstart the European economy, boost the twin green and digital transition, and make Europe more resilient. Our proposals are based on an emergency European recovery instrument, Next Generation EU, amounting to 750 billion euros, as well as a reinforced multi-annual financial framework. In total, the leverage effect of these measures is set to generate an estimated total investment of 3.1 trillion euros. What is needed now is true leadership. Only swift political agreement can inject the necessary dynamism into recovery and long-term modernization of our economies. And only swift political agreement can send a clear message that Europe delivers and people and businesses can rely on our actions as well as on our words. But it is also important that we use this money wisely. The pandemic has not only left a trail of human suffering and economic devastation in its wake, it has also forced us to rethink how we need to plan for the future. That means learning and integrating the lessons from the crisis to respond effectively to a rapidly changing and increasingly volatile world. It means a paradigm shift in the way we do policy, carrying out an honest assessment of shortcomings so we can transform our vulnerabilities into opportunities. And it means that our actions should forge greater resilience in the EU and our member states. Our aim is not simply to bounce back to our pre-crisis state, but to advance towards the climate-neutral, digital, and the more resilient future. And this, in my view, is a core condition for a successful recovery. This autumn, we will adopt our first strategic foresight report, looking at resilience across the board with concrete case studies and a number of resilience indicators to help us monitor the continually evolving state of vulnerability and resilience capacities in our societies and make the more future-proof policy decisions. For example, the corona crisis has further highlighted the pressing need for Europe to bolster its strategic autonomy by building competitive, sustainable and resilient industrial value chains in key sectors, including the raw materials critical to game-changing clean and digital technologies. Here, we can build on our work under the European Battery Alliance aimed at creating a vibrant European battery ecosystem to reduce our overdependence on Asia, notably China and South Korea, and we are well on track. After less than 3 years, the Alliance already encompasses over 300 industry and innovation actors and has mobilized around 100 billion euros in investment across the whole value chain. For these reasons, we have coined a blueprint for our 21st century industrial policy. It also applies to a stronger industrial and technological presence in strategic parts of the digital value chains. Therefore, our recovery investment should also be channeled towards strategic digital capacities and capabilities, including artificial intelligence. In this context, we need to help world-class innovators in Europe thrive by nourishing the ecosystems in which they work and by making it easier for them to bring radical new technologies to the market. For the perfect example of what Europe can achieve, both in terms of innovation and electromobility, you only need to look to one of my fellow speakers here today, an impressive innovator, Mate Rimac. So whilst there remains a great deal of work ahead of us, Europe can look to the future with confidence and a clear vision. That future, of course, begins tomorrow with the German presidency of the Council, and I look forward to continuing with them the excellent work and cooperation we have enjoyed with our Croatian friends. Strategic foresight as a key enabler of resilience will be part of that cooperation. Let me now finish by wishing you all an interesting and informative forum.